StatSports League fans, we are back, and this week we are wrapping up the regular season, and we've got playoff previews. As always, I'm Han, joined by Mr. Whoopsie Wednesday Meng.
Yes.
And also we have two analysts today. Introduce yourselves, please, gentlemen.
Isaac. Jet lag.
Trey. That was, I can't do that. No, it's alright.
You have to. Gotta follow the khaki cuts.
Right, that was amazing. All right, so again, thanks for joining us. We wrapped up the regular season now. Every team has finished their 4-game regular season. We have a breakdown of everything that happened this weekend, as well as the standings and the seedings for the playoffs coming up. So for all you guys that are playing, we're going to tell you who your matchup is for the first round, as well as the bracket throughout the rest of it, and also for all the fans as well, when you can come down and support it. But first, we are going to wrap up each group and kind of see what happened this past weekend. And then I'm just going to throw it out to you guys and kind of let's talk a little bit about the regular season, how each team did, and what we thought about each group.
I think first things first as well. I think it's nice to mention that SSL this year is going with every team makes the playoff format. So it's kind of like your NCAA March Madness format. We have 15 teams in the league this season, but the first seed will get a bye in the first round, whereas the rest of the 14 will battle it out.
Yep, that's right. So instead of jumping straight to the quarters, we've got a round of 16, and it's going to be really interesting. So yeah, everyone makes the playoffs. So let's take a look first at Group A. This weekend we had 4 of the teams playing, Atlas Ballers versus Bandwagon. Bandwagon kind of inched one out there against Atlas Ballers. I thought they played well. And also Merit Farm defeated the Juggernauts.
Yes,
so let's just go around real quick. What do you think of the game? Let us know a little bit about the first game, Bandwagon versus Merit Farm.
Bandwagon, Atlas Ballers. I know you guys played your second stringers. You want to give them some burn before going into the playoffs. Nelly's got a lot of game time. Brennan got game time. Even Mark.
Gaia as well.
Yeah, Gaia, exactly, the lefty. And it was good considering the results. Saw Yen Chang was still on form for Atlas Ballers. No Daniel Kato though for Atlas Ballers this week.
Mm-hmm.
But they played well. I think they showed up like 1 and a half hours early to practice.
Running through some sets, warming up. Yep.
Exactly, and it worked because they managed to get shots up against you guys. But you guys played well as well. Second stringers. Rowan Pierce came in for a bit there. Great ball movement from Bandwagon, I think.
Yep. So Isaac, what did you think of that game?
Yeah, they kind of came in like they're at their best compared to the rest of the games against you guys. They weren't stressed like how they were against XUM, stuff like that. Yeah. And Ethan Wong had a game high 20 points. He was pretty relaxed. His shots managed to drop, stuff like that. Sonia Chen as usual. After I don't know, after that second game where he had his 33 points and then he just started going on fire every game afterwards. Yeah, but I think it's also credits to John Lee. Although he's in Team Sunway now, but he's still backing it up as he came last week to coach the Atlas Ballers against you guys. I don't know if you guys noticed that he was there. He was still there, coaching the new revamped Atlas Ballers lineup, stuff like that. So I think a lot of confidence was given to these new players by John Lee.
Yeah,
so
I think you're definitely right. He was a huge part. Just him being there, they were a lot more relaxed.
Right.
They had some direction in you, or some leadership on the bench. Dre, what did you think of that game?
First off, did you just call Brandon Tan a second stringer? That is cold. He's the Cocky Cartel. Freaking like he runs that channel, right? Come on, he's not a second stringer. He's not a second stringer. But about the game, one thing I really liked was the Atlas Ballers this game knew where the shots were coming from. The past couple of games, everyone was like, it's my turn, your turn. This game, they realized in order for us to get ahead, we're gonna have to get shots. We're gonna have to get both Ethan and Saw the shots that they need. And no one was really complaining about it. In fact, if they had their big man, if they had Kato, I think you guys would have lost that one. Because just someone to corral some of those loose balls and get a couple more boards, get a couple more possessions. Because near the end, they kind of ran out of steam. But if they were able to actually just control the game a little bit more and push the pace a bit more, I think it would have made a difference.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think eventually they relied on Jansol a little bit too much. But yeah, they were a lot more confident. From our end, again, you're right. We were trying to get some run for all the other guys, but also get a little bit more used to executing. We always have a game plan, and I think a lot of teams have a game plan coming in, but we can't execute it. And sometimes guys don't have enough. They don't have enough reps to get those through. So that was really the goal for it. But I think for Atlas as well, they got out of it. Even though they lost, they got out of it what we got out of it, which is a little bit of confidence to go into the playoffs. Yeah. All right, let's move on now. Again, the other game from Group A this weekend was Merit Farm versus Juggernaut. Tell us a little bit about that game.
I can't say anything about that. Close game throughout, and Merit Farm just pulled away in the fourth quarter. I think Juggernauts was trying to get all hands on deck in this game. They had Ilham back. Afifi still wasn't there, but Akil, Muhammad Naji, they had Amal as well. Yeah. A lot of the guys were there to play in this final regular season game for them. And they did well to try to contain Merit Farm for 3 quarters, but unfortunately Merit Farm just proved too strong for them this time. Merit Farm had their full lineup: Jia Yipin, James Keck, they had Jeng, they had Eddie Tong, and shots were falling for them. So
yeah, and unfortunately for Juggernaut also, they lost Japun in the game to an injury as well, an ankle injury. What did you guys see from Merit Farm? I mean, they finished 3-1 on the season. They're second in the group. Had a lot of momentum going in. They only lost to XUM. What do you guys think of how they did in this game?
Well, from a Juggernaut standpoint, the reason they were able to succeed was because Akil's athleticism kind of put them ahead a bit early on. They kind of fell back a bit because I think they were unable to manage their rotations well enough, so they ran out of gas in the fourth. I think some timely subs throughout the first 2 quarters would have helped get, I guess, like Ilham a little bit more rest, because one of the reasons why Merit Farm just surged ahead, they had, I think in the fourth quarter they had like 10 fast break points where there was no one around, no Juggernauts defenders back. They weren't getting back in transition fast and fun defense. On the Merit Farm end, it did show there were some cracks there. I think Merit Farm also tried to get some of their guys who don't usually get run out there as well and get that experience. So if that's any indication, if Merit Farm is forced to go to their bench in the playoffs, what's going to happen, that would be something very interesting to see.
I think it's a good point for both those teams and Juggernaut especially, and in general for the teams playing this season. It's about the management, the rotation of those players, the talent that to maintain, manage the game and the runs as they come and go. Isaac?
Yeah, I only remember, like Ming said, Merit Farm pulling away in the fourth quarter only because Juggernauts had gassed out. Ilham was gassed out, Akil was gassed out, but the one thing that you can remember in the fourth quarter is Sam Kasing had 10 straight points on the same spot, same jumper. No, it's like slightly in front of the free throw line, but it's the same spot, 10 points. No defense, no nothing, and like 5 out of 6 shots is nothing but the net. Yeah, that same consistent spot. So there was no defense at all from Juggernauts, and that's when they pulled away.
Yeah, exactly. So every time you dribble out.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. They probably kind of underestimate what Sam Kasing can do. A lot of people tend to do that because he's not that much. He's not that good.
He's not an unassuming physically either.
Right. He's not a superstar. He's not the guy to get all the attention and stuff like that. So he's like the dark horse of Merit Farm.
Although you can see a little bit of Eddie Tong in him. A little bit, like he tries to control the game. The size is similar. He's kind of like the 6th man for Merit Farm.
The thing is, he doesn't even need to do that much and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
All he does is get the ball, take a simple jumper, score that point, get back for defense. He's like those kind of bench players that give crucial points to your team. He's not the type of player where okay, I must play 40 minutes and score that 30 points. I'm just gonna be the guy who comes off the bench, give the team that crucial 10 points, get back on the bench. That's all.
Like your friend for
Right. That's a good comparison. All right, so that's it for Group A. We'll show you guys a little bit about the final standings later, but again, XUM tops that one, and victories for Merit Farm and Bandwagon this past weekend. Now let's move on to Group B. Group B this weekend, Advanced Pro and Stuffy X was a great game. And there was also Sunway versus PhD, but let's start with Stuffy X versus Advanced Pro. A really close game that went down to the final possession.
I mean, let me tell you this, man. I was, my throat was sore after that already. It was the final game of the day. I've been commentating for the past 2 as well. And then Advanced Pro Stuffy X came in and I just had to keep shouting. Because the game was just neck to neck. Like, Stuffy X obviously had a good lineup. JJ and Iggy made it to the game. Isaac Gore obviously in the game as well as Wing. All of them played well. JJ especially, I think, just dominated the stat line. I think he had 30 points, and I was curious why Stuffy X didn't, when it came down to it, why didn't they go back to JJ? And at the end of the things, it's just a silly mistake by Stuffy X, but also Advanced Pro. So Wang Jinhan let John Ng inbound the ball to Kot Song Peng, but there was only 6 seconds left on the clock. So he could have dragged out.
Dribbled it all out, dribbled the clock out,
Exactly, but he went ahead and laid it up, and he was looking at the bench as well, looking to be praised because
I
he
did it!
He did it, he extended the lead.
But it was, and what, 2 seconds left in a 3-point game?
Yeah, exactly. So you could see like all the Advanced Pro just berating him after that. And,
so before we go to Isaac's reaction, of course he played in that game. Andre, any thoughts on Advanced Pro versus Stuffy X?
I think from exactly to echo what Manny said, I think JJ's found the formula for success at SSL. He's great when he goes downhill. He's great when he doesn't try to overcomplicate, because he's got the size of what's considered to be the prototypical big man. He's big, he's stocky, he's got strength, but he's got touch and he has considerable speed going downhill. He's not the shiftiest guy out there, but he can get to the rack. It's when they try to free him up, in a lot of ways, he's kind of like Ben. If he gets a full head of if he gets a full head of steam, he can get to the cup and finish. But they just don't do a good job of getting him in that space enough, right? They'll do well for a little while, and then like you said, they'll go away from it. I was also very interested to see how they played defense versus Advanced Pro. So they gave up a lot of the things that you would usually not want to give up against Advanced Pro, deep post position, but they did very well doubling and getting the ball out of there. So they gave up the post position, but then Stuffy was athletic enough to be able to double, create a dig, and being the players that they are, Advanced Pros are always looking to keep the ball out and swing, and the shots just weren't dropping from deep this time around for them.
Isaac, so you were in the game. I know you were a little upset after it, as naturally you should be, right? Let us know from inside the huddle what happened. What was your game plan going into it, and also how do you feel about the ending?
Yeah, so the before the game, most of our homework are done about defense. We weren't really talking about offense at all. We were talking about how to counter those post play by Advanced Pro. We talked doubling, double teaming them up. We talked about this and that. We talked about a lot of stuff, and we end up just going with the double team, and it managed to work. You know, we managed to. I think we played a very, very good defense. Before this episode, I said our defense was pretty weak. We managed to get a 1-time or 2-time training before our game. We honed our defensive end. We got it to go. We managed to foul out Yap Jun Young. We managed to keep John Ng's score to 4. So that's really good defense.
Great,
But similar to Team Juggernauts, we kind of gassed out in the fourth quarter. We didn't manage to pull away or take the lead. We were blur on the last possession and stuff like that. Yeah.
You had a couple chances on the and also on the last 3-point shot.
We were probably focused too much on on the double team against the Advanced Pro, and we just kind of lost our way in the fourth quarter when the ball was kicked out to the guards like Yao Long and stuff like that, where he'll just cut and get the free throws and stuff like that.
You know, and that last shot from Jason Lau, was that something you guys had drawn up before, or?
No, actually, it was more like just a simple pick and roll, and it was a last minute impromptu play.
Yeah, and I don't want to take too much time on this game, but Dre, from a experienced coach's standpoint, when we talked about that double team against their post, is there a difference between double teaming once the big man puts the ball down, or before he puts it down, and which one would work better against a team like this?
Huge difference, because you want a big man to commit to the move before doubling. Because once you remove one aspect of the game, which means now if I'm in triple threat, I can drive, I can kick it out, or I can shoot, right? So once I've committed to the move, and if you double and I have to pick it up to pass it out, I've lost one dribble. I can't get around the guy again. So typically speaking, you want to double when he makes the move, and you don't want to let the big man get to where he wants to go. So every single time.
Timing has to be just right on.
Yeah. So every single time the bigs went down to the post, they got to the block. And that's always a no-no against very experienced bigs. You do not want to let them get to the block. They have to fight to get to the block, not walk down to the block and then post. That's too easy.
And a lot of guys, again, SSL being different, we were promoting man-to-man defense. A lot of those fundamentals maybe get lost a little bit. But let's move on to the next game. We got a bunch of other stuff to get through, but Sunway versus PhD, a blowout. This was really a matchup of youth versus veterans. And also just a lot more bodies on Sunway versus against PhD. They had 5 guys subbing in and subbing out. They were pressing the whole game. Tell us about that game.
I mean, Sunway had their coach back, Suresh. He was missing last week, but back this week. And they did as expected, like first seeds of Group B, 4-0, I think.
3-1, yeah.
3-1, yeah. They only lost to Advanced Pro, who's the defending champions. So I mean, what can I say, man? Like Team Sunway is just so dangerous. They might be like your dark horse contenders for the championships, I think. But I mean, PhD had a good game on their side as well. I think Chuan, he's just on and off, man. Like in one game he would not score any, but then this game he went off for 20.
But he just shows up again at his age. I mean, like props to him, man. That's awesome. And of course Julian, keeping them in the game as well. Any thoughts on this game, guys?
Yeah, I just think PhD didn't give up until the end. They put up a good fight against Team Sunway. I'm sure they did their homework against this Team Sunway, like knowing how good and young and how athletic they are. But still, they didn't give up. Managed to put up a fight, 62 points. I don't think it's that much of a blowout, but yeah, they definitely had fun. They definitely still keep their game plan together, moving the ball, sharing the ball. We finally saw like Julian share the ball a little bit more instead of going all the way to the basket.
Well, sometimes he didn't have an option, but yeah.
Yeah. But in that game, he actually opened up more and trusted his teammates more, and probably that's how Chuan get his 20 points in that game.
Yeah, Dre, help us wrap up Group B here. Advanced Pro at the top, Team Sunway, Stuffy X, PhD, and then Young Thunder. What do you think overall of that group? How many of them do you see going far into the playoffs? And
who's the second one?
Second one's Sunway. And so it's Advanced Pro, Sunway, Stuffy X, PhD, and Young Thunder.
They've definitely got three teams that can make it pretty deep. I think Advanced Pro, just because of their experience and their ability to play the game of basketball, is definitely favored to get all the way to the final. Sunway, got to give props to Suresh. They're a pretty well-coached team. They do play some good defense. They play the pack, or version of the pack line. I think they still haven't gotten to the point where they're fronting the post yet, but they'll get there. They have the athleticism. The only thing that with Sunway is that they generally don't have a lot of size beyond that one big man, which may be a problem. But then, not many teams this season have a lot of size down low. I mean, you've got Shogi and Anthony for tap it out, but besides that, maybe Advanced Pro are the other two guys that actually have big, legitimate big men, right?
You're right.
those are the three teams. I think Stuffy's, again, depending on who shows up and what version of them show up, they're either going to be really good, like, because they've got athleticism. They've got decent athleticism to be able to play that double team game, play the passing lane.
Decently as well. They got shooters.
Enough shooters to be able to make it different. But again, who turns out?
Yeah.
All right, let's quickly move on to Group C. This weekend we had 2 games from Group C as well. A really entertaining one with these two over here, Mercenaries and AVA. And Andre got left with a little gift, souvenir from the game as well. But the big souvenir was Mr. Benjamin Olajide, of course, who tied the single game regular season points total in a game. During the live telecast, we were talking about it breaking the record, but we were talking about Irfan's playoff record. So for regular season, 61 points, tying Danny's Benjamin Olajide. Tell us about this game.
I mean, first thing I'm gonna say is, props to Ben, man. Like I don't know what.
That's all you have to say.
61.
Ben is Ben.
Yeah, and he told us after the game as well, like he could have scored 2 more points to just break the record. I know our game plan going into the game was everyone's just gonna feed Ben the ball. Ben is our key player on the team. I think the whole team came together and played well as well. Joel got his first points of the season. Bernie.
He had 4 points, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Bernie did well. Ali got his average 3-pointers, I think.
Yeah, he was forcing the issue. He wanted to make sure he got his average.
Yeah, he did get his average 3-pointers.
He was playing through calf strains and everything just to make sure he hit his threes. But yeah.
Exactly. AVA did well as well. Jackson Teo Tek Shong. I've always said he wears number 24. He's the Kobe of that team. He'll take fadeaway jumpers. He'll take the tough shots. He makes them. And Michael Pang Chiren, defense a little bit shoddy. But he caught fire from 3-point land, and it just wasn't enough for our Nigerian god.
Yeah. Pang Chiren looked a little bit. If you guys remember. I'm just gonna let that one go. But if you guys remember the Kobe 81-point game against Toronto, Jalen Rose got a lot of flack for basically not guarding him. I felt like Pang Chiren was the Jalen Rose of this game. You know, what did you guys think, Isaac?
But it's not like he doesn't want to defend Ben, right? It's just that there's
it looked like he didn't want to defend Ben sometimes.
Okay, fine. But okay, if you want to defend, what's the plan on defending Ben?
Right.
It's not like you only have 5 fouls to give. After 5 fouls, you're done, right? So, like we talked about this during the commentating. So, do you let Ben go, and then you just put the effort in scoring the other 2 instead? You know what I mean? So,
decide on what your strategy is.
Right. So it may be a wrong mindset, but I mean, going up against guys like Ben, where there's not much answer for on the defense side, I think you just gotta put more effort on the offense side and just put back the other 2.
Yeah,
so
I'm trying to check here.
I'm trying to remember what Ben's field goal percentage is. Anyone remember what it was?
And it's not only Ben or Ali that shines in that game as well for AVA, Mike. So he has been getting offensive rebounds, putbacks and stuff like that. We were talking that last few seasons he wasn't that agile or he wasn't that.
Yeah, he looked springy.
Yeah, he didn't have that much of a presence 2 to 3 seasons back. But this season, he had some secret training. He came up bouncing around, getting the offensive board, putbacks and stuff like that. Pang Chiren did pretty well as well. He put the team on his back as usual. So as Jack, trying to keep the team in the game and stuff like that. So it didn't really become a blowout. I'm really surprised.
It was a blowout.
Yeah. I'm surprised they scored compared to the 100 something. So it's only a 20-point deficit. So it's
not a lot of defense from the Mercenaries either. But real quick, Ben also had 19 rebounds. He shot 69% from the field, and I think that was just after a few bad shots towards the end. He was about at 90% for most of the game.
Ben got hot straight from the first quarter. Remember we were talking like the first few games before this game of Mercenaries. Ben was like missing a few shots. He needs his time to get warm and stuff like that. But the moment the quarter started between AVA and Mercenaries, Ben was like hitting threes. He had 11 points in 3 minutes? Remember we were checking the stats that time. 11 points in 3 minutes. That's crazy. He was warming up like way before that. He didn't even know that he was going for the record breaking yesterday, but Yeah, he was on a mission to go for 60 points, man. That's what he did.
Let's face it, when you score 61, no one cares what your field goal percentage is.
There's different kinds of 60-point games.
If you're looking at what Allen Iverson's 60-point games, about 40% from the field. So, as a teammate, you would feel that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The kinds of shots you're taking. But Dre, you finished with 6 assists and
I think that's 8.
Apparently 8. But according to the stat sheet, it was 6. And had to leave the game. Maybe you would have finished with 10, and your plus minus was 29. So good game for you before you got taken out of the game with a head-to-head collision, some blood, and you had to have a nice souvenir from it.
Yeah. First off, my new nickname is Stitches. That's 4 stitches. Can we get first? Do we know the number of the guy that hit me so that I can at least give him a call? That's 4 right there.
It was Jonathan, right?
Yeah, Jonathan.
Okay, so Jonathan, that's 4 stitches. I hope you're all right. Right?
But he doesn't really.
No, not really. Yeah, but it was a good game. I thought that the Mercenaries, just from the inside as well, we played a more patient game. Again, it's not a who's gonna get the shot. I want to take the shot. We were more patient with it. Props to Meng setting screens for Ben, making it a lot easier for him to get the ball. I believe my 8 assists in 14 minutes would mean that I would end up with 20 assists by the end of the game, but I didn't get kicked out. But we'll leave it at that. We're all right. I'm going to take it. It's okay.
It was 6 assists.
But yeah, so that was the first game. Really quickly, Tap It Out versus KL Twin Tower ended up being a really close game, as they had a couple of chances at the end there. Tell us a little bit about that one, Wayne.
Leong Chi-ho, not yet. Not just yet. Not just yet. But
But it's closer. It's always closer.
It's so close. He had 2 good chances
always
this game.
closer.
And Tap It Out, as usual. There was one thing that I was curious about for Tap It Out. So Sho Gi-gan was playing on the perimeter all game long. He didn't really force the issue inside. I don't know if it's if he's worried about injuries or he's just fatigued against the pressure of KLTT and stuff like that. But KLTT will always give you that 100%, 120% all heart and hustle play. Even the new guys, Johannes, Louis, Zach, they pressured the ball. And Crazy Shota wasn't there. Maybe he might have been the difference in this game for them. But I mean, good effort. I've got to give props to KLTT for actually keeping it close and actually having a chance to win the game towards the
yeah, and it would have been interesting if they did win. Instead, it ends up being a 3-way tie. Again, we're gonna go look into the Group C and also the playoff bracket after this. Before we do that, real quick, you guys, anything on Group C? Again, Tap It Out, Mercenaries, ISKL Panthers, AVA, KL Twin Towers. Any thoughts on this game or just in general the group?
I think for the game, just really quickly, it was the perfect situation of both teams had very strong advantages against each other. KL Twin Towers, their energy is always going to be their biggest strength, and that matched up really well against the Tap It Out team, who don't have a lot of athletes out there to contend with that speed. On the flip side, Tap It Out size. I think the reason Shogi was probably playing on the perimeter, he's one of the better facilitators on the team, and it also opens up the lane for the drive, right? So he was more comfortable facilitating on the perimeter as opposed to posting up. I think the group itself, both AVA, KL Twin Towers, and the Panthers are teams that can easily have been 2-2, 3-2. Right, they were maybe 3-1. Sorry, they were maybe perhaps a couple of points away from pulling out a victory. Like those 3 were tied, and both of them beat each other, I believe, right? In a kind of that 3-way situation. So you had to go to point differential. So it was definitely a situation where I thought either way, it could have gone either way. It just depends on who turned up that day. And in this case, it was what do you call it? Tap It Out on top, Mercenary second.
Isaac, real quick, Group C, then we're going to go take a look at the playoffs. Anything?
I just feel bad for KL Twin Towers this season, but like what Dre said, their energy is always going to be there, but just imagine like they have their full squad on like the few seasons. Imagine like how much more energy they can put on the team. And again, about the game between them and Tap It Out. Regarding Shogi playing the perimeter, I think it's because there's not much size needed for Shogi to guard. That's why he's able to freely move around the perimeter and stuff like that. But nevertheless, he still got 8 blocks in that game, still maintaining his career.
Yeah, this is going to be the highest block total in SSL history, right? For sure, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's super impressive, and I don't want to discredit him at all, but you mentioned earlier, there's less size this season, so Shogi, calm down, okay?
There's less size is one thing, but I think the ability to estimate or to predict that timing.
He's always had that.
It's not an accidental block.
I'm not discrediting him again, and he's back in shape as well. I know he's been rehabbing a lot, so yeah, kudos to him.
Those beer pong really helps, stuff like that.
His timing,
the accuracy, and stuff like that. Yeah, and I guess he doesn't want to get injured as well playing the perimeter because he's
like 17 foot tall and like has a 27 foot wingspan and something like that. So he's a giant of a man.
Helps a little bit.
It helps a bit.
We've talked about this during the commentary. It's already implemented in his brain, in his mind, that he's that kind of player. He's a shot blocker, so he knows even though he's standing outside the 3-point line, he knows where the opponent's gonna shoot and stuff like that. So he knows that mentality, okay, I know he's gonna take the shot. I know I'm gonna get a block and stuff like that.
Just before we move on, just quickly, I just want to mention one last thing. KLTT might be a contender in the playoffs because of one thing. We never give them enough props, but they have a good cheer squad, man. They have a good supporting squad on the benches. I think the female KLTT squad always turns up, cheers the men's on and stuff like that. That might be a big factor going into the playoffs.
Maybe only second to the home crowd ISKL Panthers too. So let's now move on. That's a wrap up for Group C. Again, congratulations everyone on the great regular season. We're gonna now talk about the playoffs and the final seeding. So if we can get the graphic up, this is essentially the power ranking. The final power ranking after all the games have been played.
Yes.
As you guys know, as the weeks progress, we kind of did a fluid interpretation of the power rankings, but this is the final power rankings, and how it's done is that we've taken the number 1 seeds from each of the groups, and they become 1, 2, 3 based off of point differential. Then we take the number 2 seeds from each group, and they become 4, 5, 6 based on point differential. Right? And again, within those groups, those are all sorted head-to-head and also by point differential.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Here is the final power rankings, as you can see on your screen. At the top is Advanced Pro, followed by Tap It Out being the number 2 seed. XUM technically drops, but it's only, again, from what we said with how we broke those things down. Team Sunway, Merit Farm, Mercenaries, Stuffy X, Bandwagon. Panthers move up all the way to 9th because of a 3-way tie in Group C. Because of the 3-way tie, there was actually we had to break down head-to-head what the point differential was. So coming out on top of that was actually the
ISKL Panthers with a +5 point difference.
And then second in that group, in those 3 was the AVA. Finally, KL Twin Towers dropped to the bottom of that group. So as we go down the list, Juggernauts number 10, AVA number 11, PhD 12, KL Twin Towers number 13, Atlas Ballers 14, and 15 is Young Thunders. So I'm looking here on our Facebook comments. Jerry Tay is asking if there's any special news or if Advanced Pro is skipping a week this game. Yes, they are. They are the number 1 seed. They have got a bye. That's right. So congratulations to Advanced Pro. Tap It Out number 2 will play a Young Thunder. XUM will play Atlas Ballers. So let's take a look now at the playoff brackets and the matchups for this first round starting this Saturday. So first game will be 8 and 9 Saturday at 2 p.m. And then we play out Saturday, Sunday for the first round, and we go on from there. So we're going to take a look now at the brackets here. Once again, Advanced Pro will be sitting out this weekend. We will have
the second game of the weekend, the first game of the weekend, will be Bandwagon versus ISKL Panthers. Very tricky matchup for you guys, Bandwagon. Second game on the weekend, apologies. Second game on the weekend will be Sunway against KLTT. Again, I expect to see a very exciting game here. KLTT is never going to back down, man.
And we can go into each of the matchups real quick, but I think if any of the matchups for Sunway, the KL Twin Towers is going to be the most exciting one, and most, they can run up and down with them.
Exactly.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Then third game will be Merit Farm versus PhD, and that will conclude that side of the bracket. So the side with the defending champions Advanced Pro. And then moving on to the other side of the bracket, you have Tap It Out versus Young Thunder as the first fixture. Stuffy X versus Mercenaries. Stuffy X versus Juggernauts. Stuffy X versus Juggernauts. I think that will be another interesting game again. It's a good matchup for them. It's going to be Inham versus JJ probably.
It's the battle of the attendance.
Yeah, well said there. And then XUM will take on Atlas Ballers. We'll see if Atlas
Intergroup game.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then finally, another intergroup game,
a rematch, or AVA. Yeah, Mercenaries versus AVA, a revenge match. AVA
again.
Going to take a revenge against Mercenaries.
It's also the revenge of Bandwagon against ISKL Panthers. Last season, Bandwagon has won against ISKL Panthers. So there are a lot of revenge matches in this season, actually. Like Bandwagon versus Merit Farm. The previous season was Johan. A lot of XUM versus Bandwagon, stuff like that. Yeah. And XUM managed to get their revenge and stuff like that. A lot of revenge match from last season.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. I really like kind of how we've done it this season. I think it played out to be really cool. Just for myself, the 8 and 9 matchup being on Bandwagon, we had thought that it was going to be KL Twin Towers, but because of the result yesterday, it ended up being Panthers. I'm not really sure which matchup I would have liked better. It's going to be tough either way, but let's go around and kind of just talk about who your favorites are, or let's talk about who are your upset picks for this round. Are there going to be any upsets for this round? Again, the seedings all there on the table as well. Any picks for upsets? Dre, any picks for upsets? We have Bandwagon versus Panthers, Sunway versus KL Twin Towers, PhD over Merit Farm maybe, Young Thunder over Tap It Out, Juggernauts over Stuffy X.
I think, so in terms of parity, the two ones that really stick out is probably KL Twin Towers and Sunway, depending on who shows up, right? If KL Twin Towers get a full squad, it's going to be a very up and down, pace and space kind of game. Sunway does win the spacing game because they can shoot better than KL Twin Towers. But again, with the full squad, it's going to be a tough matchup. KL Twin Towers very good at punching above their weight. So I think this will be the closest to an upset.
And they have some ball handlers that can handle the pressure and all that. Will throw
so that the press isn't going to worry them so much. The other one is the Juggernaut Stuffy X game. I think, again, it really depends. If a full Juggernaut squad does show up, that's a lot of size for Stuffy X to contend with. If you have Afifi, Akil, and Inham, I do not think Stuffy would be able to defend that for 4 quarters. So it really depends on how they play out, who attends the game.
And it'll be tough if your opponent doesn't recover in time either. The wing play really suffers for Juggernaut, but yeah, that size is something Stuffy will have to figure out. Isaac, any favorites for upsets?
Regarding the Stuffy X and Juggernauts game, I think we were really lucky that one of the core players might not be able to attend the playoff game and stuff like that. But we got a couple things going on before we face Juggernauts. We got a couple of ideas ready about what kind of play style that they're gonna play and how we're gonna counter and react and stuff like that. But the upset that I'm going to expect would be AVA having their revenge against Mercenaries. Now the only reason why is because Ben had already had his 61 points, he can officially retire from this season. His job is done. AVA
retire from the season.
His job is done. AVA will bring back the Twin Towers. They're gonna dominate.
I still need to get my 20 assists, so Ben still needs to work. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Another upset that I'll see is, let me guess. Let me predict maybe Young Thunders against Tap It Out. Now, I say this because Young Thunders, I still did not lose hope on them. Right? They had 70 points against Advanced Pro. That they need that fire, they need that game plan. Tap it out. To be honest, like what we all said, they're not that deep now that their 2 core players are gone for national series.
As you say, I see Shogi has joined online too. So Shogi, just listen to Isaac's predictions here. Young Thunder over Tap It Out. I wouldn't say so. My pick for an upset potentially would be Atlas Ballers over XUM. Again, depending on who shows up for XUM. But Atlas Ballers, again, maybe they're due for a better game this season, and they have a little momentum from the last game. So
I mean, for me, I'm really sorry, Han, but I think ISKL Panthers might have one over you if they get their full line.
And that's all the time we have today.
I mean, hear me out, okay?
Yep.
They've got Yida. If Jackson Legaway turns up, he's on their roster. He's not shown up for a lot of games. He's only played 1 game this season. But if he shows up,
they're a tough matchup against you guys too. They really played really tough. Their defense looked good. They look like they know what they're doing now, and they're really rallying around Coach West's style and all that. So I don't disagree with you. They're going to be a threat. And again, I wasn't sure which one was going to be the better matchup for us, them or Twin Towers. Last thoughts on the playoffs, guys. Any predictions? Any all around predictions later on? Any finals predictions right now before we even kick off?
I mean, just let me start off saying that I think we came into the season with very high expectations because we knew that the field was very even. Like, we knew that none of the teams were ridiculously better than any one of the teams. So, like, this playoffs is going to be exciting for me. That I think a lot of games are going to be close games and going to be played down to the wire. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
You guys, any final thoughts? Any final predictions?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, I think the group draws are even. We couldn't ask for any better matchups coming into these playoffs. I'm happy with who I'm going to face next. At least it's not too tough like I'm going to face Tap It Out, Advanced Pro and stuff like that. It's a challenge for us. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but yeah, I'm happy like we managed to face Juggernaut. I just want to see like how good and like they have MABA Cup experience and stuff like that. I think we just want that challenge.
Alright, Dre?
I've learned long ago not to stir the pot and give people fuel. So all I'm going to say is it's going to be fun, exciting, and everyone's going to have 100%.
But you're going to have 20 assists against Sadie.
Yeah. That's just bad.
Less blood, please.
Yeah, no blood. And so you guys also tuning in, all the players, all the fans and everything, you guys can also have your say as far as upsets and picks. We're doing a bracket challenge this season. We're going to post up a link here. What that allows you to do is go through the playoffs and predict who will win each game, as well as you go from round of 16, quarters, semis, and finals as well. And the link will be up on our Facebook and also on Huddle and all that kind of stuff. Each round, for every correct pick that you have, you'll be scored accordingly. And for each round, the points will increase as well.
So in round 1, it will be 1 point per pick. Quarterfinals will be one point per pick as well. And then you move on to 2 points for semis and finals. Yeah. So look forward to that. We have prizes for you guys to win, courtesy of our sponsors, Baofin and Leaning. So there's a 100 ringgit Leaning voucher up for grab and a Baofin knee guard. They are the best knee guards in the world.
That's a good prize.
That's
a good prize.
Yeah,
so all you guys gotta do is once we have the link up, put in your votes, and then it's a really easy website to kind of just click who you want to win and follow along every week. So again, games start this weekend. Saturday, same place, same time, 2 o'clock, and Sunday as well. We will have the schedules and all the matchups and everything to you captains, and also obviously on social media and on Huddle as well. And then finally, before we wrap up, we want to talk also about All-Star voting. All-Star weekend is going to be happening after the quarterfinals, which is 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now. Is going to be on Sunday, November 24th. You have the chance to vote for your all-stars, your favorite players in SSL. It could be you, it could be your teammate, it could be this guy. You can write in your votes, but we've also got a vetted number of all-stars that you can pick from. Go to the link that is now on Facebook and select your top 24 players, and from there we will whittle it down to the top, fan-selected votes,
Definitely.
and we will have the top 2 captains kind of draft the teams. Yeah,
Yeah.
just the way the NBA does it as well. So that's going to be super fun.
Team Giannis versus Team LeBron.
Yep.
We have a deadline for both those voting on the brackets and the voting for the All-Star game?
Yes, so for the bracket challenge, the link will be up by today, and the deadline will be 12 noon on Saturday. So before the first playoff game starts, that will be the deadline. And as for All-Star voting,
I think we'll have it up through mid next week.
Yeah.
We'll let you guys know about that. But that's up right now. The playoff bracket link will be up shortly. Again, we'll reach out to all your captains, but also it'll be on social media as well. So that is it. That is going to be what kicks us off into the first week of the playoffs. It's going to be awesome, guys. Make sure you tune in. For Meng, Dre, Isaac, I am Han. Thank you. This has been Inside SSL, and we will see you guys next week.